here we are. We are
We are
live.
here.
We are here.
You
Woohoo!
are such lucky people to be live with us tonight. And live is live because I'm telling you what, we've got two folks join us that are even more lively than Denise and I. In fact, we are introverts to the ninth scale with the
Totally.
folks that are going to join us tonight. So
Yes.
you are in for a treat. Sit down, get the popcorn, ask some questions. Just enjoy the evening with these two wonderful, lovely people that are going to join us.
Absolutely. So, speaking of the two lovely people that are going to join us, we have Ashley Bunn and Martha Edmonds with us. We are very excited to introduce these two powerhouses in the world of ISD. Ashley Bunn is Martha Edmonds' daughter. So that's even better. That's even so cool. They're both in the ISD world. First, let me introduce you to Ashley Bunn. As a second generation instructional systems designer, Ashley Bunn has been working in and around adult learning training and developers since the age of 15. She holds a master's degree in instructional systems design as well as a certification from UMBC. Over the years, Ashley has held several roles within the training and development industry, from senior instructional systems designer, senior manager, project manager, and now manager of learner experience for Braze Incorporated, a leader in the tech marketing industry. She has a passion for engineering, innovative learning experiences, and has used her inherited knowledge in her free time to facilitate workshops on diversity and inclusion, domestic violence, and respectful dialogue. Ashley is a lifelong learner, and at this phase of her career, she is looking to mentor and develop other instructional designers new to the industry and create learning experiences that promote healing, wellness, and reflection. She's now a certified yogi and is currently writing her first novel, which serves as a commentary on the origins of racism and the work we can do to confront systemic oppression. Follow her on LinkedIn at the link that you see below here. Now, let me introduce you to Martha Edmonds. She has worked as an instructional designer for over 25 years. She is an author and owns a consultant firm called MGE Consultant. As a Buddhist and a humanist, Martha's career has centered around creating curriculum which helps society, such as child support curriculum, drug abuse enforcement, and faith-based community and economic development. After attending the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, Martha developed a faith-based community development model and wrote a book to help churches establish community-based social programs. She also has an undergraduate certificate from Cambridge University in the UK in creative writing and is presently writing her first novel, Lady Killer, a novel about a female CIA Black Ops assassin who quits the agency until her daughter is kidnapped by her baby's father, a powerful U.S. senator, to force her to kill again. The question is, will she kill again? Or will the senator be her last kill? So at this time, I think we need to bring these two people onto the air and meet them. Welcome.
Look at that. Three beauties
Hi,
and the
guys.
beast.
How fun. What awesome bios. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if you could tell, but I had a great time reading those bios. And
I'm
just,
going to take my resume and tear it up, or I'd burn it, but there might be a fire. So, good gracious, we are so lucky you were with us. Gosh.
Thank
uh,
you for inviting us. It's so nice to be here with my daughter.
I'm glad to be with your daughter, too. One of my favorite students, somebody who just seems to be incredibly unable to stop, who is tireless. And, when somebody is smart and has no limits, they make incredible instructional designers. And I can attest to that because this is a hard job. You got to really work it to make it work right. And you got to be inquisitive. You got to be smart. You got to be sharp. And my experience with you actually has been all of those things. And I am thrilled. I mean, you're now in Atlanta. You spent some time in Toledo. My gosh, what next?
oh, So,
I don't know.
whoops. Oh, your video just blinked a little bit, Ashley. You said you're having some storms over there. Oh, hold on. We can't hear you. All right, let's see. Can we hear you?
Yes.
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 There you
Okay.
are.
Woo.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chuck, can
So,
I just like record this and take it with
yeah.
me everywhere
Yeah,
I
no,
go
yeah.
so that
Yeah. Or you could just
Chuck
call me on
Hodel thinks I'm
FaceTime.
great? Okay,
No, just call me on FaceTime and
I'll do that.
just make sure that I've got good clothes on. And some of the things I wear here in the mountains of West Virginia might not show up well on FaceTime. But my gosh, and Martha, it's such a treat to see you. And something Martha just told me, which I find incredible, is she has not been interviewed. And here's a woman that did TV in Atlanta interviewing everybody else. And now we flip this table on her. And, we're going to be kind and gentle as we always are. But, this is an incredible honor, Martha, to be able to interview somebody who made a profession of it and did it so well. I mean, TV news, spot news is tough. It's a tough business. And if you can survive in that, God love you. I mean, this is incredible. So to have both of you here, my gosh. So let's talk about instructional design. So I know there's this whole thing about mother-daughter. So I want to hear from Martha first how this worked, and then I want to get Ashley's version
I know,
of how she
15.
became interested.
We didn't
15
have
years
time
old.
to like confirm our stories, and I think my boss is listening. So I kind of like got hired off of this. So just make sure you tell it right, Mom.
Okay, I want to make sure you keep this job. We don't want you coming home, okay? Now, see, at 15, I was trying to teach Ashley how to write papers that she would always get an A on. And in order to do that, I taught her PowerPoint and how to structure a term paper. And girlfriend kept getting A's over and over and over again. And then when she got to college, her presentations and the work she was doing was so incredible. And I would say to her, Ashley, you do better than I do, and I'm getting paid. And then finally, when she graduated with a political science degree, I said, I really think you should be an ISD. And she said, why? I said, because you're doing better than I am. So you should be making a good salary and go to school to be an ISD, because she really was, still is extremely talented. And like you said, she is a go-getter, and her work is better than mine. I always tell her that. And she always says, no, Mom. And then I say, well, I'm always assessing people's ISD work. So you're doing much better than I am. I am so proud of her, and so proud that Chuck kept you in the program to the end.
Well, that $1,000 didn't hurt, Martha.
Shh, we're not supposed to tell her that.
Oh,
I paid
everyone
you
knows.
No. Your
Chuck
contribution to
Hodel can be bought. Right.
the retired professor's home. I have to buy my way in there. So let's hear it from Ashley's point of view, and then I'm going to spoil both of you with some comments. But so is that close to the story, Ashley?
It is, thankfully. Okay, good. Because I never know what's going to come out of Martha Edmonds' mouth. But like, essentially at 15, I was her assistant. And I remember, in addition to all of those things, she would have me take the post-course evaluations from her workshops. And the main reason I stayed working with her, because, I had options at 15. I could easily just
Dunkin' Donuts really wanted her.
Exactly.
McDonald's.
Right. But, I was really interested in doing public speaking, and her public speaking skills were amazing. So she would have me come with her, drive her around to different training workshops that she had to put on. And I learned that was like my crash course in presentation technology and how to manage a presenter projector and things like that. And then it got into the analytical stuff. Like she said, when she was teaching me how to create outlines, I would take the post-course evaluations and she'd ask me to look for trends in the data and, helping her. She gifted me a version of Captivate once in college. And so like when she was doing consulting work on the side, I was her assistant. I didn't get paid much. So,
Of course not.
Hey, girl, I fed you.
Right.
I fed you.
I guess that's fair. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. And then when I graduated with my degree from Morgan State, I told her that I wanted to go to school for public policy administration, and I wanted to teach lobbyists how to lobby. And my mom said, well, Ashley, like that sounds like instructional design. I think you should just do that. And I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. That's incorrect.
You said that to your mother?
I did. I really did.
How did that go?
Tell them all the stuff you said to me.
I was about to say, you see where I am right now, right? So
Yeah.
I did the certification program just to humor her. And it was the first day, my first day of school was in your class.
Yep.
And that was when I was like, I've made a huge mistake. Like this, how do I
All of my
tell
students
Greg?
say that the first night.
Just
Well, it
read
was
the
just like-
syllabus.
Right. Yeah. No, it was just like, I need to tell Dr. Williams, the head of the program, like, I need to go into this as a master's. Like, I don't want a certification. There was a moment in your class where a part of me just clicked into place.
Yeah.
And it's something about knowing that you're walking in your purpose.
Yeah.
And you found your career, not just a job, that is really profound. And so even though I had known that I wanted to be in politics from the time I was 4 years old. So to make a shift like that is really impactful. And so it's just crazy to be having this conversation with both of you. Because, yeah.
See, and what interests me so much about this, I mean, there's a lot of things because
Sorry, guys.
I don't know what Denise
I
is
don't
doing.
know what
weird
I'm doing.
things there.
I pressed a button and it did
Yeah.
something weird. So this is live, people. I don't know what
Hey,
happened.
This is live. You gotta love it.
I'm so
I love
sorry.
it. But what really impresses me with you two, besides just the fact that you're you two and you're just so powerful and unique, which thrills me. But there's this whole familial connection. And in instructional design, I saw this with Dr. Cook and his son Jim Cook. I've seen it with others. Two of my three sons have gotten graduate degrees or certificates in ISD. And there's something about this. I don't know. I'm a geneticist at heart, and I think that people are pre-programmed to like and to do certain things. And I think I had that moment too, actually, where it clicked for me, because I couldn't even spell ISD. I always say that. And I came up and entered the program as a student too. And I have to say, the first night with Dr. Cook, that it changed my whole professional outlook and path, because it resonated with me instantly. And I think it did with you, and I think it has with others too. And certainly those it doesn't, and that's fine too. But I think it's one of these fields where once you grasp what it's all about, and once you see the power of it to empower people's lives and to make their lives better and to do really wonderful things for other people's careers, and all the things that you two espouse with helping other people and doing for others, it's one thing that's always been my mantra too, is to pay forward and pay back. And in ISD, I can do that every single day. I can always find a way to make a course better. Somebody can learn better, or I can find a way to help someone through a learning space that's not comfortable for them. And to hear you, Ashley, and Martha talk about this, it just fills my heart with so many good things. That, if I never do another thing in my life, I feel like I have accomplished something. I haven't done this. So I know Denise has all kind of questions too, but it just struck me about families and ISD. What is it? Maybe that's the next
I
thing.
know, that must be so amazing.
Ashley and I worked for the same company too. I worked for Booz Allen.
Yeah.
And one of her first big jobs, Booz Allen.
Yeah.
That
I
was
would
it.
Well,
I was gonna say, like, the one thing though that, to your point, Chuck, the way my mom communicated to me with me growing up was very much an ISD talking to a SME, right? Like very small words, slow, and like no, I'm just kidding. But like one thing that she would do is she would force me to go through the 5 whys
mhm.
exercise.
Yep.
And as a teenager, you just want your parent to fix it. But for her, she was like, well, let's get to the root cause.
So you did root cause analysis on the prom?
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
You know what the
Martha!
challenge was? Ashley would
Right.
put all of the endings up at the beginning of the training. And I would say to her, no, Ashley, turn it around. It goes in this direction.
See,
Right.
So
I'm
the
just
other
looking
thing
at
she
this.
didn't tell you
Oh,
was I would drag her. I wrote a book on community and economic development for faith-based program people. And I would drag her with me all over New York State. She
Mhm.
was in charge of selling and giving me books to sign and carrying in the videos and the slides and all of
I
that.
was her
So,
roadie.
well,
huh? She was my roadie. That's what
yeah,
she was.
just keep the guitars
I
in
made
tune
some
and hand them
great money from
drumsticks.
that book.
That's what we had
Ashley
our
didn't get
roadies
any,
doing.
but she didn't get any of the money, but I still fed her
Well,
every
of course
day.
not.
You bought
I
that
mean, that,
prom dress and
yeah, no,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
mean, you know, we'll
So to
work out the
Denise's
money later.
questions. Right,
yes.
exactly.
So
Sorry.
one of my questions is now mother and daughter kind of team growing up. I mean, how cool is that? That's just to me that's really an amazing opportunity. Ashley as a young person growing up and trying to explore what there is to the world, what you can do with your life, and here you have a mother who's feeding you these nutrients of just this world that potentially could be your future and ultimately became your future. So
Right.
that's really just a beautiful gift and a blessing. I'm wondering, do you offer each other advice on
Oh my
your
God.
ISD projects? Because you're both in this field. So I would think that would be so amazing to be able to touch base with somebody who you just deeply care about and say, what do you think about this, mom? Or what do you think about this, Ashley? So let's first start with Ashley. If you want
Go
to,
first, Ashley.
So, I mean, what's interesting is that for a long time, my mom was my professional mentor. And then it was really profound to see the shift between mentor to peer in terms of the conversations that we were having. And it got to a point where she was sending me her design documents and I was sending her mine, and we were just like having these collaborative spaces, and like I would start sending her peer reviewed articles on things like that. It was very valuable because there was no one my age in the class, because I think, Chuck, like when I was in it, there were a lot of people who were like serious advanced professionals, and I'm just coming in straight from undergrad. um, and so to have her experience, it was crucial at the beginning, but then it's been cool to see a shift into being peers in this industry.
But it's so interesting because I'm old school. Ashley is new school. Ashley uses technology that I haven't touched at all. And she just, she has these wonderful things she's done when she was setting up that corporate university. Well, having been a reporter and I was also a producer of television commercials, Ashley was in the studio. She was writing scripts, she was producing, she was running audio tracks, she was hiring actors. She had gone so far beyond where I was and where I am even today. And then the different software that she used. I'm a Captivate girl. That's me. Strong Captivate. Ashley always shakes her head and says,
I
"Nah,
hate it.
Mom, it's something better." She hates it. But I'm a Captivate girl. And but the stuff that she uses is so fast. It's so productive. The other thing is that Ashley manages teams, large groups of people who all work together to generate a project. I work on a team, but the projects are each of the team members from beginning to end. So we start something, we do every aspect of it as an individual, and then the team gives us Q&A. So she is, it's so funny. I look at her and so often I think of my days as being a producer doing television commercials where you were producing and working with a whole lot of people. And Ashley just takes it to a whole new level. She has so far, I'm like, now she is my mentor.
Oh,
That's where we are these
oh,
days.
that is so beautiful.
See, okay, so
Uh,
we have this. We're recording this.
we
So
are
Ashley,
like this
we
is
will get you a copy of this. But I think
absolutely.
this is a great point. You're talking about generational differences. And one of the things as an instructional designer, I put together a whole day when I work with groups on generational differences in learning and how different generations approach technology. And I've got something that I call the point of technology immersion. So, at what point in your life did you not have a technology, or did you always have a technology? So, I'm guessing, Ashley, you always had the internet, pretty much, right?
Essentially,
Smartphones,
yeah.
computers.
Yeah.
Okay. So, your mom and I are the same age. She looks much younger, and we'll give her that. But I can remember being in the one room schoolhouse and having to start the fire in the morning. And they would bring in the one book we had, and one of us would read it. But that you had computers and internet, and so
Mhm.
technologies that you've always had, you have a different relationship than those of us that have to learn technology and master it and then stay current with it. And then we get into this whole thing about social media and which generations want to learn with social media. So
Mhm.
when you talk to Gen X and younger about using social media for education, they're very happy about it because that's their social medium, right?
Right.
But people like me, sure, I'll take a Twitter course. Send me 5,000 tweets a day. I'll do this. But I think the generational stuff, I mean, besides the mutual respect both of you have for each other and love, which I think I wish everybody had that same relationship with their kids and their parents. But, my respect for that aside, I think you bringing up this generational, it's not an issue so much. It's just the reality what instructional designers have to think about all the time. So commercials that are funny at me at 70 are not funny if you're 20 or, you know, so, and then take this and take it out into instructional design and into learning environments. And you really have to think this through. You really have to find out how to be inclusive generationally and all the other ways that we have to be and want to be. So I think that's a great point. I mean,
Yeah.
And I would love to know, Ashley, you mentioned that when your mother said captivate, you were like vehemently like shaking your head. What is your technology of choice?
It really would have to be right now it's articulate storyline, but
Hmm.
well, hold on, because see, that's a trick question. I think it depends on the type of training that you're asking for,
That's
right?
fair. That's
So,
fair. Yes.
yeah. And like with my previous role, the thing that I'm now obsessed with is virtual machines.
Ah. Oh, I
As
want to hear. I want to hear about a little bit about that. I just really interested in that. If you could just.
Yeah, so it's more valuable for technical training, right? You wouldn't use that for soft skills, but using a bank of virtual computers that are built by systems and software engineers that mimic a computer. So it takes the idea of a simulation or a demo to a whole new level. Like they have traffic generators, they have internet providers, and so you go into this virtual machine and it's like you're inside a case study.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
God.
I want to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's
I
so
will
cool.
be adding that to my consulting business. Oh
No,
God.
you're not. You no.
I said I will not be adding that to my consulting business.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you, Ashley. You're current, okay? You're state of the art. What's next?
Sure.
Because I have a
Um,
lot of thoughts about Elon Musk and Neuralink and embedding technology in each of us for
you just
learning.
yeah,
And do you think
right.
it's going to go there? Do you think someday
So
we're going to have a patch that we
I
just patch up
mean,
the internet on our arm or something?
that sounds so convenient. Like, what if someone could just inject, like, I could write a curriculum and then have someone turn it into code and then they shoot it into someone's arm? I'm writing a science fiction novel, if you didn't notice. So, like, I'm thinking about, no, but I think honestly, like, the next phase or evolution of, and I was talking with my coworker about this today, is assessing learning as it relates to your like inherited trauma, like
All right.
assessing your learners based on how they've come to understand and view the world from a
Right.
lens that's more emotional, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to these are the standard types of learners, like obviously this person's a kinesthetic, like going
Don't,
away
don't,
from that.
don't go into learning styles. I'll explode.
Right. But going away from that and really getting more into the
Yeah.
intuitive
Yep.
aspect of learning
Yep.
and development.
But what
Because,
about different
go
types of
ahead.
intelligence? So if you look at Gardner's work, I think he is one of the most brilliant people I've ever studied because he
Mhm.
looks at intelligence not through the old IQ vein,
Right.
which is ridiculous because that means nothing. But at what are our strengths in terms of what we are good at? So a baseball player might not be able to write a sentence, but they're really good at baseball. Or a
Right.
chemist might be really good at formulas, but maybe not so good at teaching. And don't you think, Martha and Ashley, that learners deserve more respect than just trying to box them into things like learning styles and all this other stuff that people come up with?
Mom, can I
I
can I answer
agree.
this first? Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. I agree with you. I think that no one is no one is the same. We are all
Mhm.
unique. We are all rare diamonds.
That's it.
And we have to begin as trainers, as teachers, as educators to acknowledge the uniqueness. And Ashley, your generation will do this. Your generation will be the ones who will develop training that reaches people's life,
Hmm.
not just their brain, but their life and who they actually are. It's going to be an exciting time, very exciting time.
And to that point, what I'm excited about is this shift in understanding that the workforce is going to be made up of people who want to stay home, right? Like, I'm excited to see employers or employees create an agency for themselves. And so to see that evolve, I think there's going to be a gap with how we train up our workforce in terms of like scalability, connecting with remote audiences, and understanding their motivations have shifted. Because I can't use TikTok to save my life, but somebody can get on TikTok and make some viral statement that will allow them to not have to work for anyone else, or I could start a GoFundMe to pay my rent. Like, the ways in which people are finding life hacks for the workforce will ultimately force employers to reassess how they train their employees and investing in them.
No,
I
I
have to
absolutely
agree
agree.
with you on that,
Yeah.
Ashley, because
Yeah.
I think that if anything, what the pandemic has told us is that do we really need all this office space real estate? Isn't that a lot of money that can be saved just from people working from their home and being able to truly have a work-life balance. And I think what we have seen is that people are committed to their jobs. You hire great employees, they're committed to their jobs and they work. I've seen Ashley, I'll be honest with you, Ashley has never worked, and her dad agrees with me, a 9 to 5 job. Ashley is up at 10 o'clock. She is up at 7 a.m. in the morning. She is up after midnight and she's working on stuff. She's always thinking, always working. And I swear they could never calculate the number of hours that Ashley works. So I don't work that way, Ashley, because I'm old school.
Oh my God. Next
Well,
question.
let's go deeper in this because I think this is a key point. I think that when we started having telecommunications, whether it was first PCs or the internet or whatever, that everything changed. And the pandemic had really nothing to do with the shift that happened very quickly because of that, but it was going to come anyway. Mm-hmm. And what we found out is that the social skills required to be in group settings are not only a cautionary tale about success, but also a lot of other things. And the second part of this that I believe, and maybe you do or don't, is that we now more identify with our profession than thinking about going to work. We think about we are our work, and this is what we do for a living. And I have no office hours. I answer students' emails or professional emails 24/7. Denise is up at 2 or 3 in the morning.
I think I've gotten a response at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, from me. But this whole notion is we are now identifying with our work as opposed to identifying with our employer. That I'm an instructional designer.
Okay.
So whether I do that for this company or that company, or whether I do it as a volunteer, or whether I do it somewhere else, I will be loyal to my employer and I will honor all of those things and do that happily and joyfully. But I identify as an instructional designer. And I think that's what slowly and now perhaps more significantly is changing. And I'm an instructional designer 24 hours a day.
Right.
And I don't just limit my time to when I used to get to the office at 8 or 9 and when I would leave at 4 or 5. My job is now all of me. It encompasses me. It encompasses all I do. And I think, I don't know, am I the only one in the world that feels that way? But that's what I'm seeing. And as a psychologist, I used to come up with games and I would ask people about their employment. And if they told me where they worked, I got a different impression of them than if they told me what they did.
Interesting.
But
So, go ahead,
sorry.
actually.
I think to your point, because at first I wasn't sure where you were going with it, but now I'm fully on board with the rationale. But I think part of the shift has been people actively pursuing their passions versus pursuing their jobs, right?
Yeah,
like,
I'll agree.
And then feeling the confidence to go for an opportunity that connects with what they're passionate about, as opposed to just doing the thing that will afford them the freedom to do something outside of work.
Yeah.
Don't you also think that this has been influenced by globalization? Because now, with the this new way that we're working, I can work in Paris. I can work in London, which
She's not gonna
Ashley
work
knows
in
I
London.
love London.
But if she wanted to.
See, I want to work in London. I want to live there so bad.
I'm always in London. That's the bad part about the pandemic. I wasn't able to go to London last year or this year.
And I are going to meet up in London.
I always will do that. And but I think globalization has an impact on it too. What do you think, Ashley? Because I saw you shake your head at your mom.
Well, she's shaking her head at me because I'm talking about London. But, I just did all the DNA tests, and all of my ancestors live in London, believe it or not. And I was told I was Cherokee, but I was Native American.
That's
So
what,
all these
yeah.
lies my family have told me for so many years. I said, no, your family's pretty much in Manchester and London. Okay, I
Right.
guess
You
I
know,
gotta.
we did the DNA test, and guess where I was from?
Where?
London. London.
That's, she's
Okay,
making
well
that
then you
up.
and I
London,
definitely.
South
I think we're
Africa,
related.
and Ghana.
Yeah,
And I went to South Africa to check out my homeland, but it was European.
yeah.
Mm.
So I'm London. I'm a Londoner, and I had a chance to teach at the School of Economics, and I turned it down. I could not kick myself all over the place. It was a matter of kids and all, stuff that makes those decisions for you. But I think the globalization, the fact, yeah, I could work from London. I could do this from London. I could do it from anywhere. And I think that takes this whole notion of jobs being a location completely out of the equation.
Absolutely. I think that definitely is the shift. And it's even more so now that the pandemic hit and we all realize we can do this from our home offices and we can do it really great. Because now we're not worried about sitting in a car for 3 hours commuting and having to, like, that really is a huge shift for a lot of people to be able to take that time back and actually be able to put it into the work. I mean, I know myself, I fill that time that I used to spend walking back and forth, going back and forth to the university and walking from the parking lot a mile to the building. All that stuff adds up, and all that stuff, all that time I put into something different. This channel, studying ISD at UMBC, working more. It provides it provides a greater opportunity to be more productive. And I think that we're going to see that shift in the learners that we're trying to teach. That is the mindset. Nobody has to be geographically, I don't want to say nobody, people do not have to be geographically tied to an area. And that opens up the door financially for people to be able to afford housing in different areas and all that kind of stuff. Less stress. So now they have more time to learn and dedicate to finding those passion points that you were talking about, Ashley, which is really important.
Absolutely.
Now,
I think employers benefit a great deal from this new work environment because I remember when I started working from home, I used to think to myself, oh, okay, so I'm not going down 4 flights in the elevator to get me a coffee. I am not sitting down there talking to my buddies. I am not down we had a mall at work. I'm not in the mall buying a new business suit. So my employer gets 8 hours out of me.
yes.
And I grab a sandwiches out of the kitchen and come right back to the computer. So employers are really benefiting from this new work style.
I
Don't you
agree.
agree, Ashley?
What were you going to say, Denise?
Well, I was going to shift gears if we want to move on to, I really want to pick both of your brains about ISD and what you would say your most enjoyable projects have been, if they're a certain type of project or a specific project that you've done that just really did something to your heart. It made you want to get up out of the bed in the morning and just go and do this project. Do you have like a scope of a project, the types of projects you like that do that to you, or have you done something specific?
Oh, most definitely. For me, it's needs assessments. I'm obsessed with them. And looking back on it, I realized, I was thinking about this morning. I can't believe I did this. I had a strategy at UMBC, and I don't know if Chuck remembers this, where basically every time I had a final project for a semester, I would make a way that was something I had to do at work.
Yep.
And so even though I was a human resources manager at a Target store and all they wanted me to do was just design a new onboarding process for this role, I was like, great. So here's the needs assessment. And then I did this I somehow managed to convince them. I was 23. I managed to convince these people to let me do focus groups for them of their employees. No, that's who put me in charge of that. So, but
I don't think that ever bothered you, actually.
No, it didn't.
this
No,
this whole who's in charge thing.
because no.
Nah,
But
I can handle it.
so as a result, I developed this love for basically establishing recommendations and seeing them be executed based on like all of this work that I've done, this research, this collation of data to affirm my recommendations and assessment of an organization. And so any chance I get to do that in a space, I'm 100% invested. And the project I was the most proud of, I was the senior instructional systems designer for the U.S. House of Representatives, which and basically I conducted a district and house-wide needs assessment where I created a list of recommendations of courses that would help standardize their program or professional development offerings. And every week, someone new would come up and say, you should have a course on this. And I would say, we've already thought of it. The terminal and enabling objectives have been developed. It's in our roadmap. It's on our curriculum map. And it would shut them up every single time. And so to just have that validation that like my instincts are correct, needs assessments for me went out every single time.
That's great.
That's tremendous. That's great. Well,
I think
Martha,
for me, oh, I'm sorry, Chuck, go ahead.
I can't wait to hear yours.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll be honest with you. It's funny. I was going back in the brain here. As a Buddhist and a humanist, which is exactly what I am, and I've been a Buddhist for 45 years, one of the projects that I am the proudest of, when I was working for the Rockefeller Institute, I developed domestic violence training and curriculum and traveled around the state teaching that and training people on how to recognize and how to help women that were going through domestic violence, women, men too, going through domestic violence. And I often think about the people that I trained, how they impacted other people's lives and helped women and men get away from these difficult situations. The other thing that was really, really very exciting, and Ashley, I dragged her all over the state for this, was I even dragged your grandmother around the state when I was teaching faith-based community and economic development. But what would be exciting would be I would go in, I would train people, I would give them my book, and then I would go back the next year and they would have a daycare center set up, or they would have a food pantry set up, or they would walk up to me and they'd say, since you talked to us last year, we've been able to get federal funding to set up, XYZ. And it really made me feel great to know that people weren't just sitting there nodding their heads at me, but they were really getting it. And the strangest part that I used to always say, I would get very few questions when I trained people. Very few questions. And I would stand up in the front and I would say, so any questions? No, room was silent. And then I would ask them later on, why didn't you ask the question? They said the training was so detailed and so complete and so informative that I know what to do now. And then I'd go back next year and they really did get it. They really did have their program set up. So that was it. And, every day last year, what was it? In 2017, I did one on senior loneliness. And I was like, well, that's a really good thing to look at, is how loneliness affects senior citizens. And I did that under a contract that I had. And it was a wonderful thing. So that's who I am.
Wow, that's really touching. It really is. It's the fact that came from that passion place, and you're making a big difference in the lives of people. It's very apparent. Yeah, it makes
Well,
it
see,
really.
we are so gifted to have you two on here. Um, I feel like just going off and getting another job now. I can never get.
Are you looking for work, Chuck? I got some stuff for you to do.
Oh, really? You got a little side gig for me? Well, it's impressive. You two are both impressive people, and I'm not speaking up because you're on here. I've known you both quite a long time, and I've seen your work, and I know the power of your personalities. And one thing I found about instructional design is that when you do it well, there aren't a lot of questions at the end. You've done your job. And that's one of the things I always looked at in reviews when I did evaluation was what was the Q&A after. And if there wasn't much, then I felt pretty good about the course and the way it was delivered and the facilitation and everything else. But also there's the power of your personality, Martha. And you got to admit, I would think if you were standing in front of the room telling me something about life, whether it's domestic violence or trafficking of kids or whatever, senior loneliness. And people don't realize there's over 70 million people in this country that live by themselves. And, these are real issues. And for someone of your integrity and dignity and certainly place of knowledge to be able to come into a room and share that with us or with anybody, that is so powerful. And I think that's the beauty of instructional design, too. We take the best of people and we make them better in terms of how to deliver product. And that's one thing that always impresses me. So anybody that's been in a room with you as a learner has been blessed. Good for them. And then there's Ashley, and this is 200 pounds of dynamite every day. There is no off switch. And see, the thing about you, and I remember exactly in 602 and 603, and I can tell you where you sat too. You know where you sat?
Yes.
Yeah, you sat either the first or the second seat on my left.
I was about to say right next to you.
Gosh.
Yeah, every time. Yeah, I can remember where everybody sat in my classes back 40 years, which is why I'm in therapy now. But I do remember that.
Okay.
No, I remember you exactly. And sometimes you would leave in the middle of class, but that was a different issue. And do things. Yes, yeah. See, I remember. But the thing that impressed me about you was you were so sharp. I mean, nothing got by you. And I always had a game I played, and a lot of people never caught on to it. But I always made up at least one word in each class. And I would remember that, and I would make up a word. And sometimes it was sneaky, and sometimes it was just so stupid. And eventually, I would just keep waiting for somebody to raise their hand and say, "How do you spell that?" Or, do you remember that?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And Ashley would
Do
look
you
up
remember
every
any
time.
Do you remember any of the words?
Absolutely not.
I would be really impressed.
No, it was nonsense.
It was complete nonsense, but it was what I would do to get people to pay attention. Because I could tell instantly if somebody was zoned on what the conversation was about, because I would just use the stupidest made-up word. And if they would just shake their head, I knew they were paying absolutely no attention to me. And you would get this, you have a smile sometimes that's like,
right.
Right, Mom? Doesn't she have that look when she's not quite sure what to say, but there's something going on there? And, that would tickle me. And, so.
I bet you she never zoned out, though. She is so attentive.
Oh,
I got my money's worth from that program.
Well, we got our money's worth from you because as a teacher, when I have students like you, I'm a better teacher every time.
We got a question from David Adams. Do you know what my favorite made-up word is?
What is it, David?
Oh, come on, David. You're leaving us in suspense here. You got to share it now.
Oh.
That to-doodle word was good for me. To-doodle? How do you say that?
Doodly-doo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh.
Spectacular.
So there's a backstory on this. There's a backstory on this. Denise is from Rhode Island.
I'm never going to live it down. Never.
She has trouble with words that have T in the middle. So say Dayton.
Dayton.
Say spatula.
Now, well, spatula.
She just can't. We got a whole.
Spatula.
We're going to do a whole series of Rhode Island pronunciations.
Spatula. Okay, I hear it
Yeah,
now.
like the kitchen. I was talking about my favorite kitchen gadget, and it happens to be a spatula. And
Whatever
David-
that. I think it's a religious subject.
Right.
Yeah.
Great.
So what do you want to give as advice to people that are watching this that are just starting in their careers, or they're just students in this program or one of the many wonderful programs across the country in instructional design? What advice would you give them? We'll start with Martha, because you've got such a world of great advice from your years
You
doing
know-
so many different things.
ISD is, if you're in this, you love it. And get yourself to some place where you are going to love. I always talk about beauty, benefit, and good. And get a job where you're going to be in a peaceful, beautiful environment. You're going to benefit society, and you're going to be able to do good work. So that's the whole thing: beauty, benefit, and good. And I would recommend you, as Ashley has, getting a lot of experience doing everything. Push the envelope. There is no end to Ashley's envelope. I swear, she pushes it and pushes it and pushes it. Just like she did me when she lived at home with me. But,
And could you be more proud of somebody? You could not be more proud. Because I know I'm so proud of you.
I have three great children. I really, really do. And all of them are doing very well and very successful. And Miss Ashley there is kicking doors open and bringing her best to every place she goes. So bring the best. Bring the best, because the world right now needs ISDs. Instructional designers are needed everywhere. So
I
go
agree.
ahead. You're going to be great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Love that.
Thanks.
Love that.
Okay, Ashley, tell us, what's your advice?
I mean, the first piece of advice that I always give is buy ISD from the ground up.
I know that guy.
Dr. Chuck Hodel. That's the first thing, always, especially if they didn't go to UMBC. I'm like, I need to know, I need to know that you know what I'm talking about. But then after that, it's feel the fear and do it anyway.
Great.
Yeah. Because it's
I
like
think-
sorry, go ahead, Chuck.
No, I think that's exactly right. I think so many people are afraid to make mistakes, and I've always been one to generate huge volumes of mistakes because I learn from them, and
Exactly.
then I don't make them again. And in instructional design, it's a field where you can look at it, and most people really don't know what they're doing. To be honest,
At all. No.
There's a small group of really well-trained professionals, and then there's everybody else. And I've always said 90% of the folks in the field could use a little bit of touch-up. Let's just put it that way. But
Yeah.
I think that you have to be able to go out there and generate your own energy and patch up what you mess up, but that's okay because you always can. And that's why we have a system, and that's why we have a science. So we find out these things before they get in implementation and cause problems. And just
And then
go
if it
out.
causes problems, make sure you have an evaluation plan in place
Yeah.
to do it
And go
better next
fix.
time. Right.
Yeah, just go fix it.
Um,
I mean, that's
And
perfect.
so the
I want
only
to say,
final
do two things. Oh, I was going to say, do two things. I did this when I came
I
in
wasn't
ISD.
finished.
I kept Gagne's book on my desk.
Mhm.
Gagne's book on my desk. And now I know with Ashley, she keeps Chuck Hodell's book on her desk. So keep
Yeah.
Chuck and Gagne next to you because you're going to refer to them often.
Mine is in my living room. That's my second office is my sofa. So that's where I keep it. But yeah, so it would be those things, but also understanding that like keep your learner's perspective central to your design, as
Absolutely.
opposed to your stakeholders or, your SMEs and what they think is valuable. Say to yourself, if I had to come into this with X level of knowledge, how much of this would make sense to me?
Yeah.
And and that is what, you taught me, Chuck, and my mom, that like, if I can't see this as a learner, then I need to readjust something with my objectives or the design of it. But also understanding that if you maintain that kind of commitment while still being flexible to what your stakeholders demand that you do, uh, you'll be much more successful in this business because you can find a balance. You
Yeah,
just got to
you
look
absolutely
hard.
can.
That's
And
really great.
every time
Well,
I
one
think
of the
about that learner, it's the most important thing to me. And I can
Exactly.
have discussions with clients. I can have discussions with, you know, subject matter folks who are always right about what they bring to it. I love subject matter experts. I really do. I think they're the most underrated part of instructional design. We just need to find ways to work with them. But if you always think about your learner, you can't ever go wrong. You can
Right.
never go wrong. And picture them leaving that classroom or turning off that computer, and you want them to be successful. As Dr. Cook always said, I want every one of my learners to have a success every day.
Mhm.
And he was talking about you and me and all of us. And the words of wisdom, Dr. Cook just passed a couple of months ago, but he took that philosophy with him and he indented it in his son, Jim, and his family, and in all of us that were his students. And I will never forget him constantly saying that. Always make it a better day for your learners. And what better philosophy? So actually,
definitely.
Martha, gee whiz, you two are just tremendous. We got to do this again. Can we do this again?
I would love
Oh,
that.
sure. I would
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
it.
I
And I'll
took a,
promise I'll behave.
I took a bunch of notes because I'm a student of ISD. I'm in the program right now, and
Oh,
I am like taking notes like crazy. I really learned a lot from both of you. And that's what I
Oh,
love about doing these interviews and meeting all these amazing people who are doing ISD work, rolling up their sleeves and getting in the trenches and doing the work. And it's so inspiring to me as a new person in the field to witness that. So I'm really grateful that you shared your experiences. It was really helpful.
I'm so humbled.
I
This
think
is
I want to say to Chuck and Denise, thank you so much for doing this, for doing this whole series of interviews that you're doing. When I got my master's degree, I walked out, I had absolutely no idea what to do with that piece of paper. It was not a time where there was a lot going on in the industry for us. I didn't even know where to get a job. And now, 25 years later, it's everywhere. So, really, you're doing such a great service to these young ISDs that are coming out of school. They've got jobs to go to. Wow.
Well, and the other thing that they've got is they have a world to change.
mm,
Yes.
We can do this better. All of us can do this better. We can make learners more comfortable and make this process of going from what they don't know to what they should know and need to know so less painful and more enjoyable, and make it more about life and less about learning. It's just,
exactly. The
we can
the
do
one of
this.
one of my biggest pet peeves, and I see this as like an inexperienced thing, is when people try to trick their learners
Oh, don't ever do that. Don't ever do
and
that.
create
Don't do
like,
that. Don't
this
do
is a
that.
trick question knowledge check. If you were listening, then you should know.
Oh,
It's like
Now,
they're paying you money. Why would you?
the trick is for you to find another career.
Right.
If you can't respect your learners, then you're in the wrong
Exactly.
business. They are first.
Exactly.
They are. I will leave a client, or I will leave a program or a project if clients think that anything is more important than a learner. I refuse to do it,
Mm.
and I never will do it. I have walked away from things that could have been very lucrative. And it's not that they were incorrect on what they wanted, it just didn't fit into my philosophy of what instructional design is and what learning is. And in the end, the product of most importance is that learner. And I always picture them. I close my eyes now and see every course I ever designed and who I was designing it for. And I know that you are the same way. And what a gift that you both brought to this profession and to life in general. And Ashley, I'm telling you, you just every time you impress me more. I wish I had a job for you, but I guess you're gainfully employed.
I was gonna say, oh no, Braid is keeping me busy.
Yeah, I see that. So whoever is working with you there, they are the most fortunate people to be able to work with you, to share your life experience and your professional life. And gosh, it's just so cool.
We do have a question that just came in from Count Williams. I know
Yeah.
educators are looking to jump into ISD. What would be the first step?
Buy ISD from the ground up.
There you
And
have
I'll,
it.
and I'll autograph it. There's even there's a new book too. Did you know I just published a textbook?
Oh,
Yeah, so there's a textbook, and if you look in the chapter for the channel, there's chapter chats there. So Denise and I are working through all 17 chapters, and we're doing a YouTube video for each chapter too.
and
So
and Count, just so you know, I'm not like he's not paying me to say any of these things, and it's not just me being like a fangirl. I truly, I on the side, you know, when I encounter a young instructional designer or someone who's coming into the industry, the first thing that I tell them every single time is to get this book, because it truly breaks down for someone who's transitioning into the industry or someone who just wants to strengthen their skills. It really helps to lay out the foundational understanding of instructional systems design. And it can move you a lot further in your career, and also assess the value or the effectiveness of your training organization as a whole. So if you want to make recommendations to your company so you look like, you know, I'm a smart person, I know how to do all these things, that's the value of it. It'll trick
well,
a lot of people.
let me give you a backstory on the book because I think it's important, not because I wrote it or anything else. Because you know I've been no ego. I really don't. I just try to do the right things with people. When I first talked to Dr. Cook about this, when I first started teaching 602 after he taught it, when he retired, I said I wanted to write a book on ISD to use as a textbook for 602 and other courses, because at that point there was nothing out there. There was Gagne's book, which was tremendous, and Merrill's work and lots of others, but there was no textbook that you could just have them buy one book and get through an introductory course. And he looked at me and he said, if you write an academic book, I will never buy it, and I will see that nobody ever buys it. You need to write these books for practitioners and for people that actually do this work. And if you start with this uppity stuff, I will never support you in your book. And if you do Dr. Cook, he was such a gentle, supportive, kind man, and he just brushed my hair back. I thought, okay, sir.
Right.
Yeah, that's my new book.
Go that way with it.
And that was the first edition of Up, was based on what Dr. Cook said to me, that write this for people that do this. Don't write this for academics. And I've tried to as straight a line as I could with that. And hopefully you're very kind to me, and I appreciate it very much. If anybody learns anything, I'm grateful and appreciative. But this was always about people being better at this job, not Chuck writing a book. That doesn't interest me.
I think also that's really great. I think that's beautiful. Count, one of the things I'd say, because Ashley cut her teeth on consulting, and when you are a consultant, you are given the opportunity to work in many different areas. You're writing curriculum for all kinds of things. And I cut my teeth on as a consultant with the Rockefeller Institute, started there, then Booz Allen, kept going. So I truly believe that consulting is a great way to get started. And there are tons of consultant firms out here that are looking for ISDs. And you get a chance to just write all kinds of curriculum. And I think the more different kinds that you write, the better you get. Do you agree, Ashley? What do you think?
Yeah. And also it gives you a better sense of like client temperaments. And so
Oh
moving from
yeah.
a space right.
I can't believe they're not all perfect.
Right. But it'll help you to see if this is really like if you're made of the right stuff
Yeah,
to
you got to have a tough
go
skin
into
to
this.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it helps you to distance yourself from the things that you're creating, because I think when you go into it from the space of being an educator, you're probably very intimately tied to your curriculum. But here you have to like go on to the next one, and creating something that's scalable. And so, yeah, I think consulting really does create that space for you. One year at Booz Allen, I ended up on like 4 different contracts, and I thought it was because I was doing bad, and they were like, no, you're doing really well. We just keep wanting to see what more you can do, and that it does create
Absolutely.
a space for that. Yeah.
And design and things that you know nothing about, so you can concentrate on design.
Yes.
And
Oh, that's good. That's
some of my
powerful.
favorite design projects were things that were so far over my head in terms of knowledge that some of them I couldn't even spell all the words. I mean, seriously, it was just, things that people don't even know that are things in certain government organizations. Um, and I found that the best work I did was when I had to get in and challenge myself and focus just on design, not on the content. I mean, you can be a subject matter expert and do your own courses, and that's great too. But I learned more from being an instructional designer in content areas I knew nothing about, because I got to ask questions and I got to be the learner, and I got to be so many different roles within that. And the other thing I'd say is go out and volunteer to do curriculum. So in communities of violence and other things where really people's lives can be impacted, like what Martha did with that. These communities are dying for people to come in and help them put together training. So whether it's an
Absolutely.
hour for a community group or just a 15-minute presentation for people that are in that situation, need to understand what their world is and what they can do about their situation. Those things are so much needed. Go out and volunteer, folks. Go out and give up your time and your talents, and it will pay dividends beyond what you could ever see in a check or in any other kind of enumeration. Just go be real.
Absolutely. I did last year I volunteered and developed a distance workshop for young girls of color at this high school in Ohio. And the topic was how to have respectful dialogue in the
Mm-hmm.
wake of the election results. So
Yeah,
this was before the results, and you can't really tell kids to just use tequila. So
you can't.
I
Oh,
right,
now
believe it or
that's
not,
news is a little bit
Oh, God,
late.
that's what I told you, Ashley. Killer.
um,
You got it wrong. It was Scotch.
right.
Scotch.
So doing that was truly impactful to just sort of see
Yeah.
the way that these young ladies approached it. And then I did a workshop to like 100 people when I was in Ohio on allyship and racism, which was very, very impactful. And like this young girl of color came up to me in tears afterwards and was just like, you got a chance to say all of the things that I never thought I would ever hear a Black person say.
Yep.
And it
Isn't
just
that great?
gave me chills. I was like, oh,
And
yeah.
I think that's where instructional design really at the heart of it is those
Yeah.
kind of things. It's where my heart is, and I know it is with all the rest of you. And if you're watching this, and we've got to bring this to a close because I don't know where we are in time, but I think we're 7 hours over or something. if you're watching this, you think about instructional design. There are lots of great graduate programs out there, and there's lots of things with ATD. If you want to get a certificate, pick up a book, not necessarily mine. There's lots of good books out there. But go out and start to do the work. Go out and volunteer your time. Go out and find a way to make your community and the people in it better and make their lives better. And through this whole process, you will find out that this is something that's what you want to do or it's not. And as Ashley and I both said, it only took us about an hour into the first class that we decided that's where our life is going. And I know that sounds odd, probably listening to this in a vacuum, but it's the truth. And this is something that gets in your heart, it gets in your soul, and it's something that you enjoy doing. But the best part for me is giving back, and I'll always say that.
Yes.
Well stated.
So we're done, I guess. We don't even get to the wheel of pain. Denise
I know.
loves to spin the wheel of pain. Yeah, I know. Well, you're coming back though, Ashley and Martha. So we will start with the wheel of pain next time.
We'll open it up with that.
And then you'll probably leave, and we'll have 10 minutes of video to put out. But so thank you so much.
Ashley, let's talk till they can't get to the wheel of fame.
So it paid off. But remember, we love you, and we couldn't be happier that you joined us, and we are so proud. So darn proud of both of you.
We're really, really happy. And like I said, I learned a lot. Very grateful for your time tonight. And I'm very grateful for everybody who tuned in, shared their comments. It was really beautiful to see some of these comments come in of the support and the questions that we had. It was really wonderful. Thank you for being here. We hope you have a great rest of your day. And we'll catch you on the next live episode. We're going to do one the first Tuesday and the third Tuesday. First and third Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard. So check it out. Subscribe to the channel so you'll be alerted when that happens. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.